and welcome to the first official episode of The Silver Lining with Oliver Newton. As promised, today's episode is going to focus on Rococo silver, which is one of my favourite periods in English silver because it was so unique, so artistic and so breathtaking. So, Rococo was a fashion, a movement, a design movement that came from France, like most of our great trends, and still today is the case. It was popular in France in the early 18th century and transposed itself across to England in about 1730, maybe a few years earlier, but don't quote me on that. And from 1730 through 1750s, 1760s, and probably about 1770 is when, or end of 1760s, you start seeing it becoming less fashionable. Objects that were made at the beginning of the 18th century tended to be very plain, not over-embellished, and this was really a fashion of the time. And as the decades go on, you go to the end of the 1720s and into the 1730s, the contrast is remarkable. Just a quick example, this is a lovely candlestick. This was made in 1746. As a comparison, this is a candlestick in the style of the mid-1720s. Now, you can see this is beautiful, very elegant, but albeit quite plain, whereas this is not just double the size, but is completely different object. Please don't get me wrong, I adore early 18th century English silver, but the contrast is remarkable. And this is something I find really fascinating about the Rococo period, is that it was such a vast contrast from what had come before it. And when you start thinking like that, and thinking through the eyes of someone who was looking at it as a new object in the 1730s, this becomes so much more interesting because it really was the contemporary art of the day, and these designs were so avant-garde, so forward-thinking that it must have really blown people away when you sat down at dinner and saw these beautiful soup tureens that were beautifully decorated, shell centerpieces, candlesticks that are asymmetrical and fluid and flow into the table. It must have just been outstanding. And ever since I thought like that, Rococo silver has just become a real addiction of mine. So you can't go on talking about Rococo without mentioning Paul de Lamry. Paul de Lamry was of Huguenot descent and was born in what's now the Netherlands. He went on to produce some of the most breathtaking objects that were produced in English silver, and there's not enough time to go over all of them, but one of my very, very favourites, just from its artistic merit, has to be the Paul de Lamry turtle soup tureen. Now, this was made in 1750, 1751, and as you can see from the picture, it is outstanding. The four fins are holding up this upside down turtle. Why do I love Rococo silver? Rococo silver is artistic, it's sculptural, it's really like having works of art on your table. And not to say you need to have a full dinner service of Rococo silver, but these pieces, even in contemporary homes with beautiful plain furniture, these look fantastic as the focal piece of a dining table or a sideboard. And I really think they're just the most wonderful object to juxtapose with plainer interiors, with plainer furniture. Thank you very much for tuning in to the first official episode of The Silver Lining with Oliver Newton, and I'm going to get to work now and start work on the second episode, which will air in a few days. I hope you all have a lovely week and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for tuning in.